We will rejoice and be glad in it. Hey, I'm looking right away to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. Lord, help us with this. Open up our eyes to see. Open up our ears to hear. Give us an understanding heart, Lord Jesus, that we might perceive the way you want us to perceive, believe the way you want us to believe, and then act the way you want us to act, and to God be the glory, and may people be helped. Chapter 7 of Deuteronomy in verse 6 says, For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. Look, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Now, can you imagine God sending somebody to tell you that? I don't know how many of Israel's people actually believed that. That they were chosen by God, they were a special people, and that they were above all the people who were on the face of the earth. That's what it says. And it cannot lie. Now that's the choice of God to this people called Israel. But I want to tell you something. In the New Testament, Jesus says to his disciples in John 15, you didn't choose me, but I chose you and ordained you, again, that you would go and bear fruit, and that whatever you ask the Father in my name, it should be done unto you. Look at that. Again, he says it. Can you imagine being chosen by God? I mean, look, handpicked. But beyond that, you know what? You're made by him. So the choosing part should be clearly obvious to you, that he made you for his purpose. And because of the quality of the person who made you, you can just think about the quality of the one made. See? God does not know how to do low level. You're a high level person. You are. Just accept it, okay? Look, let me read more. But because the Lord, well, let me just say it again. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. Wow. And because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, look at this, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Whoa, goodness. That's some powerful stuff. And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He'll repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments, look, and the statutes, and look, and the judgments, which I command thee this day to do them. Now, this is really interesting because what God commands you to do, he empowers you to do. See, the word keep in some translations and also in some Hebrew definitions means to watch and observe. God knew they couldn't keep the law, meaning do every aspect of the law, because of the sin of Adam. But he's talking about, do you have a heart for it? Come on, you're listening to me. Do you have a mind for the things of God? Do you dream spiritual dreams, godly dreams at night? Do you awaken in the morning wondering what God is going to show you today out of the Word? Do you love ascending into the heavens in prayer? Come on. That's what he's talking about right here. And there's another place I look at that I love reading. Is in Exodus 19. I don't know if I have it marked in the King James here, but I'm going over here anyway. And I want you to see this, what God said. And look, in Exodus 20 and verse 5, he says, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. He's talking about any image of any other God, nor serve them. For I am the Lord thy God. I'm a jealous God. Look, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Look at this. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. I don't really like this translation. I think it reads better in even in the New Living Translation. Basically, he's saying, I will go 4 generations and deal with iniquity. But in effect, he says his love is so much greater. The Bible says love is greater than death. Not to thousands, because he wasn't talking about numbers. He's talking about generations here. He's saying, my love and my forgiveness, my mercy is to 1,000 generations. That's what he's talking about. You just do your research on it. You'll get that. Because that's how great the mercy and love is over God's unwillingness to judge you. Matter of fact, in Isaiah, he calls judgment his strange work. I mean, you got to really, really be bad for God to slam you. And because he's calling you. And there were some people in history who had this divine sense of the call of God on their lives that made it into this day. In my journal, right here, called My Journey with God, I talk about some of the revivals. Look with me just one more passage. It's in Psalms 86. Go there with me just for a minute. And let me let you see that. And I got so many passages marked until they almost get in my way. Here, look. Bow down thine ear, O Lord. Hear me. Verse 1. For I am poor and needy. See? Preserve my soul, for I am holy, O thou my God. Save thy servant that trusteth in thee. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily. Rejoice the soul of thy servant, for unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. For thou, Lord, art good, look, and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy, and all them that call upon thee. Give ear, O Lord, look, unto my prayer, and attend unto the voice of my supplications. In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. I said the other day that we're just getting the birth pains of God's judgment right now in this nation. And until we cry out to God and ask him to do something about our circumstances, look, no matter what the source of what we call the pandemic, God is able to deal with it. And David was crying out here in this chapter and praying for the whole condition of the culture. And in the prior chapter, he makes this statement in verse 4 of Psalms 85, turn us, O God of our salvation, and cause thine anger toward us to cease. You know, we live in a day now where hardly any preacher will say God is angry with us. Yet the level of debauchery and sin in this country, I would have to say it was equal Israel's when God slammed them. You can't hardly think of an area where somebody is not in debauchery in it. When we talk about the 7 mountains, there are people leading us into the behavior that's unsuitable for the next world. And God is trying to get us to change. And David was praying that, and you need to pray like this too. Lord, look, will thou be angry with us forever? Will thou draw out thine anger to all generations? Look at that. Look at this famous verse. Wilt thou not revive us again, that thy people might rejoice in thee? Show us thy mercy, O Lord, and grant us thy salvation. And then he says this, I will hear what God the Lord will speak, for he will speak peace, but let them look unto his people and to his saints, but let them not turn again to folly. That's some powerful praying right there, buddy. Pray it, David. Yes, sir. You pray like that? I mean, do you know God wants to hear your cry to him to move the hearts of the people in this nation and the nations of the world of God? Listen, this nation is a primary nation that has global effect. And God has blessed us so amazingly. Look, the major news sources come from America globally. Look at with me for a minute. The global banking system of America, the dollar value is the world's currency. Listen, all these internet sources, the founder of all those people are here in America. I mean, just think about it. The greatest educational institutions. This is a destination country. All America has to do is to say, tell you what we're going to do. For the first 6 months of next year, we're going to process all the immigrants we can get in this country, as many as we can process from all the countries of the world. Man, and we let that out globally, it'll bum rush this country. You know, and it's not just about money. Look, many of you are good people. Maybe not quite godly, but good people. Some of the stuff you do, promoting the sale of alcohol globally, these companies, the selling of, liquor, hard liquor, the promoting of pornography, global pornography, is shameful, that. The global airline system, all these things, it's America. It's an amazing country. But are you amazing to God? Or is God angry with you? I believe he's angry with us right now. You can see some of the signs at the end of the day age. It's amazing how people want global warming, but they don't realize the global warning that God is giving. Are you hearing me? I mean, you can read Matthew 24 or Mark 13 or Luke 21. They're there. Inclement weather conditions. The tensions between the nations right now. What we call maybe the Cold War, but that Cold War is getting warm. The rogue nations that are happening now with these terrorists. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. The word Dirk Prince said for iniquity can be described as terrorism. See, the progenitor of some of this division that's globally happening right now. Yeah. Dishonesty amongst the political leaders. I mean, I'm not talking about just the president, the Senate and the Congress. The shame to this nation of the world. They're laughing at us in the global nations of the world. But they still want to come here, though. I believe the remnant is keeping us. A remnant. He says, he's left for us a remnant. Look, let's face it, Elijah thought he was the only one left in his day. But God says, I have a remnant over here in this city that I'm preserving for myself. There's a remnant. And the judgment of God is he don't let you know who they are, who are really going for him strong. I'm on here crying out, but God chooses the remnant. See? I'll tell you that in history we've had some great revivals, and spiritual awakenings, but they're usually birthed by people who are going after God seriously. You got to be serious about it, and then when we reach him, he expects certain things out of us that we have to accommodate. Here's the process here. Somebody sees the condition of the culture and then makes prayer a priority. Someone sees a desperate need, so they're not just praying prayers of regularity. They're praying prayers of desperation. Then somebody starts yielding to God. And then some people start going after God with intensity. And then watch, they take responsibility for becoming the next revival. I have this all in my journal. This is chapter 13, my journey with God. You know, one consecrated man that helped to effect the first Great Awakening was a man named David Brainerd. Early in American history, he was a missionary to the Native Americans, and he only lived 30 years. But he had an impact on the colonies and that continued for centuries in spite of personal doubts and debilitating illnesses. I mean, he was kind of sickly. He was born in Haddam, Connecticut as the son of a devout Puritan parents who both died before he reached the age of 15. Can you imagine that? So in 1741, he enrolled in Yale, in New Haven, Connecticut, which had been founded in 1701 as a school for ministers. When's the last time you heard that? That Yale was founded as a school for ministers. And numbers of the Ivy League schools, I have them listed here, numbers of them. For example, right in this, I don't know what I'll get through. Harvard was founded in 1636 by Puritans. The first college founded in America was Harvard, which we know today as an Ivy League school. Its purpose was the education of Christian ministers. Boston and Cambridge, Massachusetts had only been founded 6 years earlier. See that? Look how highly they value their faith in equipping ministers of the word. Yale was founded in 1701 by Congregationalists. And when Brainerd was expelled from Yale in the midst of the American First Great Awakening, Jonathan Dickinson and Aaron Burr Sr. tried to get Brainerd reinstated, but without success. Nevertheless, his life had such an impact, Yale later on experienced revivals. But in 1746, Princeton was founded as the College of New Jersey. Look, Dickinson and Burr were so disturbed by the policies in place at Yale that they founded a new school. Guess what? The College of New Jersey, now Princeton University. The effect of Brainerd on these two men and how Yale handled them inspired them to say, no, we need a college with even a better standard, even though it was a Christian college. No margin. Founding of Dartmouth, 1769. Eleazar Wheelock, congregational minister, read David Brainerd's diary. There you go. Went on a mission to the Iroquois and the Algonquin tribes. Then he founded a school to educate them and moved it to Hanover, New Hampshire. Guess what? Which is named Dartmouth. Isn't that powerful? University of Pennsylvania. You may not have thought of it as being Ivy League. Founded in Philadelphia by Great Awakening evangelist George Whitefield as a house of worship, charity school, and later developed by Benjamin Franklin. Look, Columbia University, 1754, founded as King's College in New York, by Anglicans. And Brown University, 1764, founded as Rhode Island College in Providence, Rhode Island, by Baptists. See? How about you? Would you meet the challenge to restore the Ivy League schools to the root of their Christian calling? I mean, a lot of them are in denial about it. I remember Bob Weiner going up there and doing great evangelistic meetings in some of those Ivy League schools and having great Christian concerts. Scores of people were converted as a result of it. And right now, numbers of Christian ministries are in those schools that are still having effect as a result of his ministry. Again, David Brainerd, with just a short life, affected Native Americans. And out of the effect of his life and his trials, Brainerd was an example of these words of wisdom. I have it in my journal. Ecclesiastes 12. Don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor him in your youth before you grow old and say life is not pleasant anymore. Remember him before the light of the sun, moon, and stars is dim to your old eyes, and rain clouds continue darken your sky. Remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then all their sounds will grow faint. See, he's encouraging folks to look, man. Keep God first place. Do it now. Don't wait till you say, well, I get old and then I'll become a Christian. Or I want to do this, do my debauchery. I still like drinking. I still like partying. Okay. That's what he's alluding to. See? I'm telling you, when he was kicked out of Yale, numbers because he criticized one of the professors and they didn't like his comments. There really about one of the professors, and they kicked him out. But several influential leaders came to his defense, but none of them were able to get him back in. He, Jonathan Edwards, the famous theologian whose message, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, helped launch the First Great Awakening, befriended Brainerd and described how well the young man handled himself during this crisis. And he talks about it. He wrote about it. I was witness to this very Christian spirit Mr. Brainerd showed at that time, being then at New Haven, and one that he thought fit to consult on that occasion. There truly appeared in him a great degree of calmness and humility, without the least appearance of rising of spirit for any ill treatment he supposed he had suffered, or the least backwardness to abase himself before them, who, as he thought, had wronged him. What he did was without any objection or appearance of reluctance, even in private to his friends, to whom he freely opened himself. Earnest application was made on his behalf to the college that he might have his degree then given. He desired his degree, as he thought it would tend to be to his being more extensively useful, but still, when he was denied, he manifested no resentment or disappointment. That was the works of Jonathan Edwards. He talking about and writing about David Brainerd. See? David Brainerd was committed to, man, revival, like many of you. And here's this, a little documentation of his life. He enrolled in Yale in 1741. He rose to the top of his class, but he was expelled because of criticism and the controversy during the First Great Awakening. 1742, he was licensed to preach as a Presbyterian. Preached his first message to Native Americans on August 12th near Connecticut, New York border. 1743, slight impact on the Indians at Kernameek, and then near Stockbridge, Massachusetts, depressed by worldliness in the church, plagued by illness and hardship. Look, 1744, slight impact on Indians at Delaware River in Pennsylvania, but he failed to achieve widespread response and was ill most of the time. Can you imagine this? In 1745, slight impact on the Iroquois and the Susquehanna River. A few stirrings in the people, but he failed to achieve success. Then God broke through. Brainerd's interpreter, Moses Ptolemy, traveled with him to Delaware, and he gave his life to Christ along with his wife. After the conversion of his interpreter, Moses Ptolemy, and his wife, Brainerd won a new convert, a woman, and then the dam broke. A spiritual awakening broke out. The conversions and the opportunity to become a spiritual father brought so much joy to Brainerd that it seemed that he was in heaven. Eternity had come to humanity. I'll tell you, man, he wrote about that. I really don't have time to read about this, though, man. But look, several key people got behind him. John Wesley, founder of the Methodist Church, supplied copies of Brainerd's journal to his ministers and said, let every preacher read carefully over the life of Brainerd. William Carey, missionary to India, regarded Edwards' life of Brainerd as a sacred text. David Livingstone, British missionary to Africa. Andrew Murray, South African pastor. Jim Elliot, who was later martyred by the Auca Indians, all drew inspiration from Brainerd's journal. Can you imagine it? Man, you should read it. I've read it and look at it. I prefer back to it. I really, in my moving, I don't know where it is now, I got to get me another one and look. The guy was, the way he wrote just broke you down. In 1817, 70 years after Brainerd's death, the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions founded the Brainerd Mission. It was an interdenominational outreach to Native Americans organized by Congregationalists. Many Cherokees were converted to Christ and developed strong communities. Tragically, beginning in 1830, Native Americans in the Southeast were driven off their land by U.S. President Andrew Jackson and forced to march west to Oklahoma in the Trail of Tears. I want to just say this now. If you follow the hurricanes and the tornadoes and some of the inclement weather conditions and check them out in relation to the Trail of Tears, these Native Americans, we made 1,000 treaties with these people and never kept one of them. America did. Never kept one of them. Do your research on it. Look. An estimated 4,000 of them died in that Trail of Tears. Unable to provide proper funerals, they sang, look, Amazing Grace, which became known as the Cherokee hymn. Yet the work of the revivalists had not been in vain. Descendants of Native Americans on the Trail of Tears kept the faith. Future Cherokee descendants would include Christians like, look, Oral Roberts, who reached millions for Jesus Christ. Did you know he was a descendant of the Cherokee Indians who David Brainerd brought revival to? And eventually, these great awakenings in American history brought revivals and awakenings. David's prayer was being answered in America. First Great Awakening, 1730s and 1740s. Jonathan Edwards, George Whitefield, Theodore Frelinghuysen, David Brainerd. Second Great Awakening, beginning in the 1790s, as Francis Asbury, Charles Finney, James McGready, the Cane Ridge Revival, the beginning of those tent meetings, the meeting out in Cumberland Gap. Oh man, Muddy River, Red River revivals, amazing. See, most people don't hardly acknowledge that as the Second Great Revival. And the Third Great Awakening, awakening, was in the 1850s, Jeremiah Lanphier, Henry Ward Beecher. Yes, sir. And then the Great Azusa Street Revival of 1906 to 1909, William Seymour, C.H. Mason, Charles Parham. Listen, will thou not revive us again, that thy people might rejoice in thee? I didn't talk to you about what was going on in some of those times when these revivals broke out. But look what's going on now. Aren't we to pray at a level where the heart of God is reached because of the passion of the people in the earth, standing for him to make the difference? Listen, that's our prayer today. Will thou not revive us again, that thy people might rejoice in thee? I believe our heart for God now will relate to our position in God then. Oh no, it's not just about this life. It's about the world to come. Hey, look, I gotta go. You know it, right? I ain't going. Thank you, all of you, for shouting me out, who are consistently following this word that God's allowing me to give.